Somewhere in your house right now, there might be a thief. It doesn't break a window. It doesn't trip an alarm. It works in total silence, and the only witness it ever leaves behind is your water bill. I'm talking about your toilet, not a dramatic overflowing water on the floor toilet. A toilet that looks completely fine, sounds completely fine, and quietly loses up to 200 gallons of water a day, every single day, according to the EPA's own numbers. Here's the part almost nobody knows. The most expensive leak in your entire house is usually the one you can't hear. And by the end of this, you're going to be able to catch it with 10 drops of food coloring and about 10 minutes. There's also one version of this leak that costs you nothing to fix. No part, no store, 60 seconds, and a pair of hands. I'll show you that at the very end, so stick around. I've been doing this for a long time, and the calls I hate most aren't the burst pipes. They're the ones where a homeowner opens a water bill that doubled, and there was no flood, no puddle, no warning. Just money, gone. So let's make sure that's never you. How does a toilet lose that much water and make no sound doing it? To answer that, you need to know what's actually going on inside that tank. And it's simpler than the industry likes to let on. Lift the lid off your toilet tank and look inside. There are really only a few parts that matter. At the very bottom, there's a rubber seal called the flapper. That's the part that lifts up when you flush and lets all the water rush down into the bowl. When the flush is done, the flapper drops back down and seals the hole shut. That hole it seals is called the flush valve. Flapper on top, flush valve underneath. That's the drain. Then there's a tower on one side, usually plastic, and that's the fill valve. Its whole job is to refill the tank back up to the right level after every flush, then shut itself off. And running up the middle, there's an open pipe called the overflow tube. Remember that pipe, because it comes back at the end, and it's the hero of this whole video. Now here's why the leak is silent. When that flapper gets old, and they all get old, the rubber stiffens up or minerals build up on it, and it stops sealing perfectly. So water starts sneaking past it, slow, a trickle down into the bowl, not a rush, not a stream you'd notice. Think of a garden hose left barely cracked open behind the house where you never go. It's not loud. It's just always on. And that slow trickle down the side of the bowl makes no hiss and no ripple. So you'd never catch it by looking. What you would eventually notice is the fill valve. Every time enough water sneaks out of the tank, the fill valve kicks on for a few seconds to top it back up, then shuts off again. A few seconds, a few times an hour, all day, all night, for months. That's the sound of money leaving. Most people never connect it to anything. And if you own an older home, listen up, because you're the one this hits hardest. Two things stack against you. Your flappers have simply been in there longer, so more of them are past their prime. And older houses very often have harder water, meaning more dissolved minerals. Those minerals build up on the flapper, and on the seat it presses against, kind of like plaque hardening on the inside of an artery. A little at a time, year after year, until the seal that used to be smooth and tight is crusty and pitted and can't close all the way. You didn't do anything wrong. The part just aged out. That's the whole story. Here's the detail everyone misses. By the time your bill tells you, that leak has usually been running for 1, 2, 3 billing cycles. So the first thing I want you to do is stop guessing and start testing. And the best test in all of plumbing is also completely free. Go grab food coloring. Any color, doesn't matter. If you don't have any, a lot of water utilities will mail you free dye tablets made for exactly this. So it's worth a phone call. Now, take the lid off your tank and put about 10 drops of food coloring right into the tank water. Not the bowl, the tank. Give it a gentle stir so the color spreads. And now here's the important part. Do not flush. Walk away. Go make coffee, fold some laundry, whatever. Come back in 15 to 30 minutes and look in the bowl. If the water in the bowl is still clear, congratulations, your flapper is sealing and you're fine. But if you come back and there's any color at all in that bowl, any tint, any streak of it, then you just caught your thief. That color could only have gotten there by sneaking past the flapper. That's your leak convicted for free. When you're done, flush it so the dye doesn't stain the bowl. Now do me a favor. Don't just test one toilet. Test every toilet in the house, one at a time. I can't tell you how many times somebody checks the toilet they use every day, comes up clean, and never thinks about the one in the guest bath or the basement that nobody flushes for weeks. That's usually the one that's been running the whole time, out of sight, out of earshot, straight onto your bill. 10 drops each. It costs you nothing but a little patience. And here's a tip most folks don't know. A lot of water utilities will straight up mail you those dye tablets for free because they genuinely rather you fix a leak than argue with them about a high bill later. So it's worth one phone call or a look at their website. Free tablets, free test, and the only thing it can cost you is finding out you've got a leak, which is the thing you wanted to know anyway. That one test done once a year would save people in this country an absurd amount of money. It takes 10 minutes, and it's the single most useful thing I can teach you today. So before we go one step further, let me hand you something that goes right alongside it. If this is the kind of thing that keeps money in your pocket, I put 100 more of them in a book called 100 Old House Fixes That Save You Thousands. A big part of it is catching the small, quiet leaks like this one before they ever reach a floor, a ceiling, or a cabinet and turn into real damage. It also comes with the at-home checklists and a seasonal maintenance calendar, so you always know what to look at and when. The link's in the description, and there's a QR code on screen if that's easier. All right, so here's where it gets useful. The dye test catches the flapper, which is the guilty party about 90% of the time. But what if you run the dye test and it comes back clear, and you still think something's wrong? There's a backup test, and this one costs you a pencil. Take a pencil and make a little mark on the inside of the tank, right at the water line, wherever the water sits when the tank is full and quiet. Now, reach down low behind the toilet, near the floor, and you'll find a little football-shaped or oval handle sticking out of the wall. That's the supply valve, the shutoff that feeds water to the toilet. Turn it clockwise, gently, until the water stops. You've just cut off the toilet's water supply. Now walk away again. Give it an hour. Come back and look at your pencil mark. If the water is still right at that line, good, nothing's escaping. But if the water dropped below your mark, then water is leaking out of the tank somewhere, most likely down through the flush valve. No supply coming in, and the levels still fell. That water went somewhere. That's your proof. This isn't just about the flapper anymore, though, because your toilet will also try to tell you out loud if you know what two sounds mean. And most people hear them every day and tune them right out. The first sound is the big one. You're sitting in a quiet house, and out of nowhere the toilet runs for a few seconds all by itself, then stops. Nobody flushed it. In the trade, we call that a ghost flush. And I want you to hear me on this. A ghost flush is not a quirk. It is not the house settling. It is a guaranteed leak. The only reason that fill valve turned on by itself is that water quietly drained out of the tank, and it had to top it back up. If your toilet ever refills itself when no one touched it, you have a leak. Full stop. The second sound is softer. It's a faint, constant trickle, like a tiny waterfall that never turns off. Lift the lid and look at that overflow tube, the open pipe up the middle. If water is dribbling down into it, your tank is overfilling, and the extra is spilling straight down the drain. That one is a different animal from the flapper. And it's actually good news because it's the cheapest fix of all. But I'm saving exactly how to fix it for the end because it's the one that costs nothing. And I want it to be the last thing you remember. So let's say you found your leak. Now, what does it actually cost to stop it? This is my favorite part because these are the cheapest repairs in the entire trade. A new flapper runs you about $5 to $10. A whole new fill valve, if you need one, is about $10 to $20. That's it. That's the whole bill. When you go buy a flapper, do one thing that saves you a second trip. Take the old one off and bring it with you to the store, or at least snap a photo of it. Flappers come in a few sizes and styles, and you want the one that matches. Match it up, and installing it is a 2-minute job with no tools. And here's a habit worth keeping. Plan on a new flapper about every 5 years, because that rubber just wears out. One more thing, and this ties to something I say a lot. If you've been dropping those blue or bleach tablets in your tank to keep it clean, stop. That stuff chews through the rubber flapper and shortens its life to under a year sometimes. You're paying to create the exact leak we're trying to prevent. Now, just as important as what to do is what to leave alone. If that supply valve behind the toilet is old and stuck, do not go crank on it with all your strength. Old valves can snap or start weeping if you force them. And now you've turned a free test into a real repair. If it doesn't turn with gentle hand pressure, leave it. And that's the one spot where calling somebody is the smart move, not the wasteful one. And if you ever find water on the floor around the base of the toilet, that's a completely different problem. Usually the seal underneath. And it's not the silent tank leak we've been chasing. Don't ignore water on the floor. Knowing money means knowing what to check and what to walk away from. Let me put the real number in front of you, because this is where it stops being abstract. 200 gallons a day is roughly 6,000 gallons a month running out of one toilet. Now, water on its own is cheap. But you don't just pay for water. You pay a sewer charge on top. And in a lot of towns, that sewer charge is as big as the water charge, or bigger. All in, most homeowners are paying somewhere between $9 and $16 for every 1,000 gallons. Do that math on 6,000 gallons, and you land at roughly $50 to $100 a month, every month. In a high-rate city, a toilet stuck wide open can add $200 a month or more. That's the kind of number that makes accountants cry. Over a year, One silent toilet can quietly cost you $1,000. For nothing. Not for comfort, not for convenience. For a $5 piece of rubber that gave out and nobody noticed. Sit with that comparison for a second, because it's the whole point of this video. On one side, you've got a repair that costs you $5 to $10 in 10 minutes. On the other side, you've got $1,000 a year walking out the drain. Plus the wear you're putting on a fill valve that's cycling on and off around the clock, which just wears it out faster and sets you up for the next repair. Same leak, two wildly different price tags. The only thing standing between them is whether anybody checked. And now, in your house, somebody's going to. And it's worse in a bigger house, because the more toilets you have, the more places a silent leak can hide. 2 bathrooms, 3 bathrooms, a half bath off the kitchen nobody uses. Every one of them is a potential thief, and they don't announce themselves. That's not meant to scare you. It's meant to point you at 10 minutes of work per toilet that pays for itself faster than just about anything else you'll ever do to this house. And now you might be wondering why nobody ever told you any of this. I'll give you the honest answer. And it's not a conspiracy. It's just math from the other side of the counter. There is no money in prevention. Nobody makes a service call to sell you a $5 flapper. The money is in the big jobs. So the 10-minute test that saves you $1,000 a year just never makes it into the conversation. It's not a cover-up. It's just business, which is exactly why I'd rather you hear it from me. Before I give you that free fix I promise, let me run through the quick ones, because your toilet has a few other tells. If it runs and then stops on its own every so often, that's the ghost flush, and it's the flapper. If you have to jiggle the handle to make the running stop, that's the chain or the flapper hanging up, cheap fix. If you hear a hiss, you can actually hear a real steady hiss. That's usually the fill valve itself wearing out, and that's your $10 to $20 part. And if it whistles or moans while it refills, same culprit, a tired fill valve, same cheap part. And if the thing refills itself in the middle of the night and wakes you up, same story. It's a leak. Run the dye test in the morning. Here's one that trips up almost everybody, so I want to clear it up. If you find water on the outside of the tank or a little puddle under the toilet on a hot, humid day, that is very often not a leak at all. That's condensation. Cold water sitting in a porcelain tank in a warm room makes the outside sweat, exactly like a glass of ice water on the counter in summer. It drips down, hits the floor, and everybody panics. Wipe the tank dry, watch it, and if the outside beads up again with the water off, it's sweat, not a leak. Annoying, but harmless. None of these are expensive. All of them are fixable by you. Okay, the payoff. Remember that overflow tube, the open pipe up the middle, and the faint trickle running into it? Here's why I saved it. That one is not a broken part at all. Nothing is worn out. Nothing needs replacing. Your tank is simply set to fill a little too high, so the water rises past the top of that tube and spills over. And the fix is free. Look at your fill valve. Near the top, there's either a little plastic screw or a clip or a float that slides up and down the shaft. All you're doing is telling the tank to stop filling a little sooner. Turn that screw counterclockwise a few times or pinch the clip and slide the float down until the water level sits about an inch below the top of the overflow tube. Flush it, watch it refill, and check where it stops. Adjust until the trickle is gone. That's the whole repair. No part, no store, no plumber. 60 seconds and your own 2 hands. The trade will never make a nickel telling you that, which is exactly why you should know it. So that's the whole thing. The most expensive leak in your house is the one you can't hear. And now you can catch it in 10 minutes with food coloring, back it up with a pencil, listen for a ghost flush, and fix most of it for pocket change or for free. The silence was never a sign that everything was fine. It was just the thief being quiet. Now you know how to listen. If today saved you a bill, there's 100 more fixes like it waiting for you and 100 old house fixes that save you thousands. It's a book I wish every homeowner had before they called anybody. And it's built to help you ask a contractor the smarter questions and know when a cheap patch isn't actually a real fix. Links in the description, QR codes on your screen. And if you want more of these, the ones that keep money in your pocket instead of a plumber's, subscribe to Roger the Pipe Guy. That's what this whole channel is for. Go check your toilet. I'll see you on the next one.